just gotta have your magic.
See both of them? Okay, it's March the 20, it's March 8th, 2014. This is the Cedar Mountain Fire Protection District monthly meeting. We're going to call the meeting to order. We have a few housekeeping items up front. If you're not familiar with the building, if we have to evacuate the building, you can exit through the door to your left or through the door behind us. And what we need you to do is go across the parking lot to the south side. We'll assemble there. I'll grab the roster, and the chief and Frank will sweep the building to make sure everybody's out of the building, and we'll do accountability. And if Frank or the chief doesn't come out of the building, we'll call 911.
Isn't that nice?
Thanks. Pages, cell phones, iPhones, smartphones, dumb phones, all that good stuff. Turn them to vibrator off, please, because they interfere with the tape recording. If you have to have a sidebar conversation with anyone, if you would, please step out into the hall there outside the building, because as we heard listening to the tape recording of the minutes that are on the website, that equipment is very sensitive and picks up a lot of background noise. A couple of quick announcements. I think everyone knows Betty is going to be leaving us for personal reasons. So at the conclusion of the meeting, if you'd like to say your goodbyes, you're welcome to. We'll still try to talk her into doing what she needs to do on her back. She's not out the door yet.
We won't be able to start the recorders.
That's it. No. We need to get the recorders.
That's not the only thing.
To remind the board and the public, we're still going to follow Robert's Rules of Order the way we have for the last couple of meetings. And after each agenda item, we'll allow comments from the public. We won't get into discussions, but you're welcome to voice your opinion, because sometimes, most of the time, you guys have good ideas. The last thing is, it just came out this morning, the schedule of events for Duck Creek Village is out for the year. And I don't know if the public has it, but I can pass this around because I don't need it. The most important thing is Saturday, May 24th, is the kickoff dance and potluck dinner at the dance hall. And that's from 6 to 10. And then Sunday, we're going to have a potluck here at the station for the chief, so you can meet him and ask him questions and meet his wife, who snuck in late. And I think his kids will be here too, I'm not sure. It's Memorial Day weekend, but you can pass that around. That's it for comments, a little short this week. First up is the approval of the minutes. Did the board get a chance to review the minutes of the meeting? The draft minutes? Yes.
Yeah.
Any comments, corrections, deletions, additions?
The misspelling of Mr. Beckler's name is the only recommendation I would make.
I believe that's been corrected.
Okay.
I found it in like 6 different spots. But I'll make sure before.
For the public, they are posted on the website, so you can look at them there. If there's no,
I move that we accept the minutes with corrections to Mr. Breckler's name, spelling.
I'll second that.
there's a motion on the table to accept the minutes, including the correction of Chuck's spelling. They look like they're all right.
They are.
And it's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. By the way, I should have mentioned in the comments up front, we still have a quorum, but we're missing 2 members. Jim Barbeau and Pat Coley are not because of it, but we still have a quorum. Treasurer's report.
Are we doing on that? Okay. In capital improvements, we have $195,291.33. District Reserve Fund, we have $14,243.85. And now that we've paid off the bond, we're checking, we've got to call and make sure that we may be able to transfer that so that it can be put to use. But we have to make sure, because in the past that had to be there.
Sure.
One, did I bring anything else?
The reserve fund should have been used to pay the last payment on bonds.
This is February 3rd. I'm gonna need another, I went through these last night,
That's the correction.
and I think I left,
First page here is capital improvements. I'm sorry. Is,
no, I got the right one. Okay, 228, oh, yeah, okay, I thought it should be 3. Okay, now what are you saying?
I'm good now.
Okay. The fire funds checking, we have $4,956.12. Fire fund savings, we have $374,145.70. Fundraising, we have $18,306.72. That one hasn't changed at all. Snow emergency fund, we have $125,376.94. Snow removal funds, we have $254,504.29, for a total of $986,824.95. In the capital improvements, all we have is a little bit of interest. You'll see the $597, that's the donation from Swains Creek. Interest on district reserve. Okay, there was a transfer, the accountant transferred in error, and then she put it right back in, so that's what that transfer in error is.
Is that the 31,153?
Uh-huh, yeah, And then on the next page, you'll see that it was debited out, then it was put back in. And on page 7, it shows fund transfer. But again, that was, she just did it out of there. That's it. Anybody got any questions? We've paid a few bills, but mostly we just, interest was the difference. Any questions?
Question.
Yes.
The bonds have been paid off now.
Yes.
Okay, that reserve fund can be transferred back into our regular account
Right.
then.
Yeah. We were just going to call the state and double check. We're sure that's what it is, but we don't want to take anything out and cause a problem.
Normally, your last payment is made out of that reserve fund.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's just to
enough in
make
there to
sure
pay
that
it.
that the money is there to make the payment, but we paid it off early. So, okay, any more questions?
I move for approval of the treasurer's report.
There's a motion on the table to approve the treasurer's report as presented. Is there a second?
Second approval.
It's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You know,
Abstained? Motion carried. District clerk's report.
Morning, everyone. Thanks to Mike and Jay, our audio minutes are now available on the website, and we'll endeavor to get those on there every month for those of you who may want to listen to those. Also, the we're going to do printed summary minutes, much like we did for last month's meeting. And they're going to be available on the website as well. So thanks to you two for handling all the technology issues to get that done. Appreciate that. On the financial side, you probably noticed that on the very first page of the treasurer's report, it shows the January end of month total balance as being a little over $1 million. And you look at the end of February balance and it shows $986,000. It shows that we spent $63,000 last month. Sounds like a lot of money, but when I looked at where we actually spent the money, there were no particularly large expenses. It was routine types of things. Most of that money, $45,500 and change, is for snow removal. Okay? We've got a few more months that we're going to be paying snow removal, and then we'll be done with that for this snow season. But the money in the bank that we have right now is to cover the beginning of the next snow season as well. So although it looks like we got a lot of money in the bank, when you divide that over the number of months that we're actually going to be paying out, it's real tight. So it'll depend, although we want some snow, if we get too much, then our costs go up, and then we're going to end up being possibly a little short. It depends on actually when we receive the 2014 tax levy payments from the county. Typically that happens in December, so what we'll be doing, depending on the total snow load, may very well be what we did this year, and that's dig out of next year's tax levy to help pay the bills for this year.
And we'll probably be receiving a few smaller checks as people pay their taxes late or whatever. So we will receive a little bit more.
Yeah, according to Georgia Baca, the county treasurer, we are owed about, very rough numbers, $75,000 in unpaid taxes over the last 5 years. So we may get that, we may not get that, and when we may get it is whenever folks decide they want to pay it.
You will get it, but it might be at the end of the five-year period when the property is listed for sale, but you will get it.
Maybe not in our lifetimes, but
Well,
that's exactly what Georgia told me, that if they have to sell the property at auction, we still get the taxes. So,
but
we can't plan on that for our budgeting over the next few years. If we get that, that's great. If we don't get it, or if we get it delayed, that's great whenever we do receive it.
she said that when I talked to her that there is arrears each year that about equals what is paid each year. So we probably got that $75,000 as a revolving owed, that part of it is paid up by 5 years, but we add another year each year.
Correct.
So that we can't really expect that to be paid up.
The 5-year due amount right now is roughly $5,000. So if we're going to receive that all this year, $5,000 is all we get. Okay, so that kind of gives you a feel. Last year is much higher, and it decreases over 4 years. No extraordinary expenses. If you go to the clerk report, fire, go back one page probably.
Not the first one.
Is that the first one? Yeah. Look at the percent of budget column, and we are to date over the last 2 months under budget on all the categories except administration. We're a little over budget on administration. Part of the reason for that is that when you look at those expense categories, those are items or line numbers 14 to 36. If you look at those, where do you put things like uniforms, the chief's uniforms? Where do you put t-shirts for the volunteers that we, by policy, say we're going to buy them one t-shirt, one hat? If you look up there, there's no line item to expense those. So they have been expensed, the expenses we have had have come out of administration. So that's part of why admin is higher than the other categories. But there's no good place to do that, and I'll talk to that more in a minute. Also, dues and subscriptions, we've got just under $1,000 that came out of admin for dues and subscriptions that are not regular monthly expenses. So we look a little high on the admin side right now, but we're not really. We're right about where we need to be. The next several pages are the detail of the summary that I just gave you. Any questions on summary or anything so far?
Are we recording the purchase orders?
Yes.
What page?
They don't show up there. We've got the record of them.
Okay.
Where you see them in the report is expensed under the appropriate category, not as a separate PO
Okay.
item.
Okay.
That's all I have on the clerk's report.
That was shorter than last month.
Sorry, you want me to go on?
No, I move for approval of the clerk's report.
Before we proceed with that, just a point of order, there's no need to do that, and we really shouldn't be approving individual reports.
Treasurer also.
Treasurer's an exception. We should accept the treasurer's report, really. I just throw that out, Mr. Chairman.
I withdraw.
The motion's withdrawn. All right, moving on to the chief's report.
All right. We had some responses this last month. Since the last meeting, we've had one fire response, 4 EMS responses, and 1 welfare check. Now, the EMS responses are technically not ours; they're Alton's response. We're just helping them out. We arrive on scene, help identify the location, and we treat the patient just with first aid until they get there. Basically, it's just give them an updated report. But I just wanted to show you that we are actively participating in the EMS response in our jurisdiction. We did a lot of training this month, 32 hours. Now, these are not individual hours. These are 32 hours that the group came together. So then you got to multiply that by the individuals. But we did topics like emergency vehicle operations, structure and wildland firefighting operations. 2 members went and we did a S290. It was a 30-hour wildland certification course. Myself and firefighter Krieger. So we just completed that. Naren finished his wildland refresher, so he's up. So now everybody has done the refresher or the certification course for their basic wildland. We're just needing to do the walk, the pack test. In the vehicle maintenance section, Hamilton came in and they repaired Rescue 70. So now Rescue 70 is up and running. All the lights work. He traced it down and found out where there was a blown fuse and that was causing all the lights in the back weren't working. So we replaced the bulbs or the lights that needed to be replaced and fixed everything else. So we're 100% on that vehicle now. Let's see here. Engine 71 is operational, but the ladder rack is not functioning properly on the front. So firefighter Krieger has been working on that, and a little bit at a time. I think we I think we got it nailed down. We might be able to get it back in operation. But as it stands right now, we just have to remove the ladders from the ladder rack's raised position. It's a little awkward. You can't get the ladder down to an adjustable height, but it is doable. So the vehicle is fully operational. I started, speaking of vehicles, I started a BEVO, Basic Emergency Vehicle Operations. I have already designed a course and instituted a guideline. It's kind of like a policy, but it's a standard operating guideline for our department. And I took the class from the UFRO website. It's just a PowerPoint. But what I'm doing now is I'm training our drivers on state laws, safe driving habits and stuff like that. So that way, if we're covered in the event that we have, hopefully we won't have an incident through this training, but if we have an accident, the state's going to come in and do an investigation. They're going to want to know, look at all our training records. So we're doing that. So I instituted a course, and everybody's through the lecture portion, the classroom portion, and we're working on, there's a rodeo course that we're going to have to go through, and then a driving commentary course where I have a set course through our district where everybody has to drive. And I want everybody to drive, every vehicle they're going to be authorized to drive on our department. And then I'll keep track of that, I'll keep the training records, and then we're going to keep going annually. So every year we'll do a refresher course. It's basically the same course again. So we'll do the course every year so everybody will maintain their situational awareness and their driving. Turnout storage lockers. We got that donation from Swains Creek. So Firefighter Dylan and I went to Home Depot and we purchased probably about 90% of the material. And he has it at his house, and he's been cutting it, prepping it, and once he gets it all to a certain area where we can bring it here, transfer here, we're going to install it in the back bay, and then we're going to finish up. So I still have just a little bit of those funds left, so we can do the finish work. And then Dot is going to be making some name tags individual, or she's looking into it, possibly doing some calligraphy for the name tags on the front of those. So that's coming along real well. I'm excited for that to finish up. Vehicle equipment. We have, actually I found 3 multi-gas detectors. 2 of them are MSA units and one's a Tetris. I got the Tetris working. We have it, it's good. So we have an operational multi-gas detector. Rick Carlisle of the State's Fire Marshal Office, he was kind enough to change the oxygen sensors, and he even, through his funds, got us a charging unit for it. So we're good on that. The MSAs I sent back with James Russ, and he's from Weeder Fire, and he's getting me, I got it in my office, it was after I got this report together, but I have a bid on some calibration gas so we can calibrate them here ourselves, and he's going to replace the oxygen sensors on those 2 units. So then we'll have the MSA units. They're better than the Tetra. The Tetra is adequate, but I would like to get the MSA units up and running, and then we can have them on different rigs. Let's see here. I'm gonna purchase 5 spanner wrenches. We're short on 11 spanner wrenches. We're short on 5-inch spanner wrenches. I'm just letting you know that I'm gonna get some of those. I hadn't gotten around to it. That'll finish up our emergency response for hydrant connections. Now I wanted to talk in some detail about the EMR vehicle, emergency response vehicle. I'm trying to get the rescue outfitted to the state as an emergency response vehicle, so that way we can respond legally to treat and stabilize the patient in our district. Alton has the ambulance, they'll still arrive, but sometimes we're going to turn them away because we will be able to handle the situation ourselves. Sometimes we'll just stabilize the patient until they get there, and then they can do on the transport. I've been having trouble finding someone to teach us EMR classes. Say just change everything from EMT intermediate, and then paramedic to now it's EMR, EMT basic, advanced EMT, and then they have their paramedic. So the EMR is kind of a new course. I've found several people in the northern part of the state, but no one teaches it here in the southern part of the state. So I got a bid from a company. The EMS Training Institute of Utah. All right. Now I'm going to tell you right off the bat, it was $3,350 for them to come and teach us the class. EMR is a 50 to 60 hour class. The breakdown of the class is going to be 300, and that's based on 7 students. Okay, because I looked around at our personnel, and I think I'd get 7 people to take the class. And if we open that up to other agencies, we might be able to offset that by splitting the. It's going to charge us $250 per trip from Salt Lake City for 4 weekends, so it's $1,000 just for them to get here and teach the class. Or we'd have it here. If we split that cost with another agency, and I've already talked to 2 agencies that are considering it, splitting the driving fee, that $1,000, it's still going to cost us $300 per student. Now, their price was $2,100 for 7 students, but if we have more than that, it's going to be $300 per student. That includes books, instruction, and licensing fees. As far as everybody that goes through this class is going to have to get a background check in the state of Utah, and there's fees for testing and stuff like that. So that's all included in that. There's also they have to have a doctor that oversees the program. It's a medical director, so that doctor charges a fee. Well, our portion of that would be just $125. And then there's also another testing fee through the Bureau of Emergency Medical Services of $125. But anyway, all that totals up to the $33.50. So I want you guys to consider that, and I would like to get approval so I can schedule that and start recruiting our students in our department for that, because that is kind of the first step for us to get the EMR unit. We have to, when I approach the state, we have to get this thing licensed, and they're going to come down. I have an equipment list, and you have it in here. It's just a whole bunch of equipment that we have to obtain, and then we're going to have to get the vehicle inspected. But we also have to have people trained, and they're going to want to know how many EMRs we have. Now, on a side note, it's not necessarily in this report, but I've learned through the Bureau of EMS that I can challenge the test. I have to do it up in Salt Lake City, but I can challenge the test for EMT. There's a written and a practical. Now, if I do that, then I can go a little bit further. I can take an instructor's course, and then I take a training officer's course, and that will enable me to be our training officer for our department, and I can teach. Once I do the instructor's course, this is going to be after this, because it's going to take me a while to get all these courses in, but my ultimate goal is to be able to teach EMT or EMR, both of those classes here for our personnel. I'll do our continuing education. So I'm kind of giving you a broad spectrum of my overall plan right now. I hope I'm not kind of inundating you, but that's coming up in the future. Right now, I just want you to think about this EMR class coming up. It'll be in June, and it will cost us the $3,500 or $3,350. But I think in the long run, it'll be able to allow us to better serve the citizens in our community. And actually, we could open the class up to members of the community. They'd have to pay their fee, but it would cost them, with all the fees included, it would cost them roughly about $400. But they could take the EMR class themselves if they don't want to be affiliated with our department. And if I could talk another organization in, that'll cut that down. And then next. All right. Pagers. I was able to get 3 bids on Motorola, the minute or 6 pagers. So I ordered them. They're coming in. And I went with Hamilton Communications. It was $34.99.50 for 10 pagers and programming for those pagers. Now our existing pagers are still off by 1 digit, so they're not accepting the page. We're having to scan all the Spencer. We have to listen to all those communications. I'm going down Monday, and I'm going to have Hamilton's going to reprogram our existing pagers, so we'll be able to scan and be paged out for Cedar Mountain calls. All right. And with our volunteers, we have 3 new volunteers. Actually 4. This morning, Dot gave me an application too. So we got Rich and Dot Dillon, and then Eric and Lisa Boston. So, and I've already got, Rich has been diving in there. He's been getting in the training. So I've already got him. He's probably got about 20 hours plus of training this last 2 weeks. Aunt Sue's donated space on their new menu for volunteer recruitment. So, yeah, that was nice of her. So I'm gonna get it this next week. I'm gonna get her what we want and try to get her some graphic. And then we'll just have a little blurb on there like join the fire department or help out, or, you know, I haven't come up with anything just yet, but I was very pleased that she was willing to donate that. We have an MOU with the Department of Natural Resources. We just updated that. We added 2 more vehicles to that, and I got that signed this morning. I'll get that into Earl Levanger, and we'll run that through the proper channels, and then we'll have just about everything except for our rescue unit, but all the other vehicles will be on the MOU, so which is good. They can be used by the state if they need to, and we will be reimbursed by that. And that completes my chief's report.
2 questions and a comment.
Okay.
The comment is, thank you to Aunt Sue, so it's on the record, for donating the space, because it'll help in our recruitment. The questions have to do with the EMR program.
Okay.
If we bypass the EMR program and just started with EMT basic training, what's the time difference to get qualified people?
Time difference is, the EMR is a 50-hour course, 50 to 60 hours, depending on, it can be as little as 50 hours. The EMT is 120 hours for the course, so it's a little more than double for the course. The course cost, I can get an EMT class down here, but it's $1,000 per student, so versus the $300 per student. Those costs, those prices that I got were for us to go down to Cedar and take the class. It wasn't for somebody to come up here. So I don't know what we do up here. Does that answer your?
Yep.
Okay.
The other question is this Utah EMS, whatever the title of that company
Bureau of
is,
EMS.
Are they recognized by the state as an official training agency?
They are. That is. And you know what? I forgot to mention this. The people that are coming to teach us the class, they offered to be, on paper, our training officer until I can get my certifications and become one. So that way, you have to have a training officer. So they'll cover us until I can get those other classes in and done.
2 questions, please.
Yeah, I just had a question as well. Am I understanding that the EMR will not be qualified on an ambulance?
No, you have to be an EMT to be on an ambulance.
Have you talked to Alan Aldridge or the King County EMS system about training? Because I know they hold courses regularly.
Right now, this year they're doing advanced. They do EMT 1 year and then advanced. So we'd have to wait a full year before we could do that.
Jim?
Will that allow us to get our ambulance back once those are certified?
No, that's a whole nother animal. The ambulance right now, from what I talked to Stuart, from what I understand, the ambulance, they only have so many to go around, and ours, when it was pulled, it was given to Alton. So we have one problem that they don't have an ambulance. Now, I know that we could probably get an ambulance, but we'd have to work that out through King County Hospital as far as if we supplied the ambulance. But right now, we don't have one. When I talked to Stuart, he was not really receptive to us getting the EMTs and the ambulance back up. When I kind of talked to him about first responder, and that's what I called it before I found out it was actually called EMR at this time, he was very receptive to that. So the EMR is a foot in the door, is a step in the right direction, and it allows us to be able to respond and to treat legally, and we're still going to be part of the King County Hospital.
Use this vehicle back here to do that.
Exactly. This is our Rescue 70 is the vehicle we'll use. And I'll show you. I didn't make copies for everybody. I'll show you the list of materials that we need. Ambu bags. We have an oxygen cylinder in the back. We can use that. Just a variety of soft goods, stethoscopes, blood pressure cuffs, those types of things. So we can go assess the patient, stabilize the patient, and wait for Alton to get there.
Cool.
So.
Jerry?
I have 2 questions for you as well. Do you have a cost estimate? The required equipments, do you have a general cost estimate what that might be?
No, I got call out for Stewart, because I'm gonna see if I can get some of that stuff through Kane County Hospital.
Okay. And then, my second question is, when you do the EMT training, is the EMR training, EMT basic, is that the right term for yourself?
Yes, it is.
Okay. When you do the EMT basic training, is the EMR training a prerequisite, or is it included in that EMT if you decided to go that, if we were able to go that route?
It's not. It's
It's not.
not a prerequisite. You can go straight to EMT.
Along the same lines, if you take the EMR, do the hours spent in the training count towards the basic EMT training at all?
No.
Okay. Just for info, we did budget $5,000 under EMS, so the money's available to do what the chief's asking for. For Aunt Sue's, I commend them for donating to us space on their new menu for this recruiting advertising. So when you go there, tell them thank you and go there. You know, they didn't have to do that, so that was nice. That's all I have.
Sure.
Now, will the hospital provide these equipment, the bandages, all of that?
I'm still working on that. I believe they will do some. There's some things that we're gonna have to, like the blood pressure cuff, the stethoscope, stuff like that, we're gonna have to purchase. But the soft goods, I'm looking into, I believe they will be able to supply us that. And then what would happen is when we use our goods, whenever Alton Ambulance shows up, we restock from Alton Ambulance, and then they in turn restock from the hospital. So at the very least, it's going to cost us an initial fee if we have to purchase the stuff initially, but after that we're going to restock from Alton, and then they'll restock from the hospital. And those charges go back to the billing for the patient. Ultimately, the patient pays for the soft goods that we use.
Get done first.
I had a question for the chief. When you talk to the hospital and those people down there, wasn't part of the problem that we've had now, if we got an ambulance, you still have to have a minimum amount of EMTs to staff it on shift type thing, right?
That is
Do
true.
you know how many we'd have to have? Is it 5, 7?
I've heard the number 5 is the lowest number I've heard. I've heard, yeah. So
And those would have to be EMTs.
those have to be EMTs. With EMRs, he said, I talked to David Bain with the Bureau of EMS up at the state. He said one. You just need one to respond. So I'm not sure why it dropped so dramatically with that, but that works well for us.
Just to clarify, that's one EMT advanced on the ambulance. In other words, you can't just have 2 basics in the ambulance to transport.
You're
It has to
correct.
It has to be an advanced on the ambulance.
And I'm assuming it's because Kane County requires 3 personnel on the ambulance, 2 in the back and 1 driving. So the number of 5 might be for us to make sure you always have at least 3 on the rig to make that transport. And I should clarify, what we're going to have for a guideline is you have to respond with 2 EMRs. The state says you only need 1, but I want 2 to respond. That way you got backup. So
Chuck?
You, I think, mentioned that you could set this up for June.
the class, the EMR class.
Okay. I think it's very important as a first step in getting the ambulance back is to get the first, what used to be the first responders
Yeah.
up and operating so that we can provide that service with transport either by Elton or by Orderville. And what I would like to do is move to authorize the chief to proceed with setting up the EMR program with an estimated cost of $33.50, and to come back next month with the equipment, an estimated cost for the equipment to stock the rescue.
Get it set up.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion on the table, and I'll give a short story, to start up the EMR response program. Give the chief authorization to spend approximately $33.50 just to get the program set up. And it's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. We'll get started.
I think that once that program gets started, the chief gets certified as a training officer, that it will show our intent, and we'll be able to speed things up.
And cost effectiveness, once I can teach, I won't have to bring anybody in. It'll just be materials and, I'm sorry. I have two other things I wanted to talk about. All right. Earlier in the year, we talked about physicals for our volunteers. What I've done is I finally finished that up. So in your miscellaneous, you'll see two things. You're going to see the first one you're going to come up with. This is a work status form. So basically what this does is this tells the doctor what they can expect from us, our firefighters, what they're going to have to do on the job. It details that out. And well, we'll use this for it also if someone gets injured and then they have to go to get recertified to make sure they can come back. They're going to use the same form. And then the second form is the form that we created. So this is what the doctor fills out, and he uses both of these forms in conjunction with each other. But this is what we want him to physically check on the volunteer, as far as check the eyes, check the heart, check the, you know what I mean? So we can start passing. We can start scheduling for physicals for our firefighter members.
Have you identified a budget item?
No, I haven't.
I think we should get that identified first.
Okay.
I missed Chuck's question. Can you repeat the question? Pardon?
He missed your question.
Where the money would come from, a budget item.
You want to know? Yeah, because I didn't identify where it was going to come from.
We've got to remember that this budget we're presently working under is very limited,
Right.
and we're going to have to identify where that money can come from.
Is that it?
That's it. I'll be done now.
Thanks for the presentation. Next, we're going to the training and firefighter recruitment.
Yes.
Here, so thank you. Okay, we can move into old business. First thing up is the radio tower, and that was Pat's item, because she's not here. So we're going to table that until next month. The second item is Everbridge. And it's just to bring the public up to speed. Alan Aldridge from the county was up here 3 weeks ago. He gave a tutorial on the Everbridge system to Jay, myself, and Frank. And the chief, I'm sorry. Not Jay, it was the chief, Frank and myself. There's 3 people. 2 of us now have administrative rights to Everbridge. It's the chief and myself. We've put, I talked with Cindy Allen, and we're doing an Everbridge campaign, if you will. There's approximately 350 residents on the mountain that are presently signed up for Everbridge out of 4,000. It's not a good number. So Cindy has sent out a couple of last emails with her real estate deal, advertising Everbridge. And we're going to push it at the spring dance dinner, potluck dinner on May 24th. And then probably the next night, we're doing an open house for the chief here at the station, the 25th of May. So if you would get the word out to folks around about Everbridge, and everybody knows what it is, right? We don't have to do another tutorial on Everbridge. It's a reverse 911 system that allows us to notify the folks on the mountain when there's some event in progress, be it a fire, natural disaster or technological hazard, let's go that way instead, anything. Any questions on Everbridge? Oh, one other thing, because Jay brought it up. There are some folks that have signed up for Everbridge on the Kane County website, and apparently they're not able to receive notifications when there are notifications. So if you are signed up, I would suggest that you go back in and just make sure that you've got the correct information in there, because you have to have a Kane County recognized address in there. And I'm assuming this, if you had gone in to register to put your lot number, but you actually have a street address, and you can look on your tax bill, because that's what the county uses, you might want to put that address in there versus your lot. I'm guessing that might be a reason. But make sure that you've got the right information in there, because I know some of us have gone back in and checked, and now we're able to get notifications. Next item up is, again, the ICS 100 and M 700, and I believe we had 2 outstanding board members. I think Frank is,
Done.
you're done. You get your certificates turned in?
I'm not.
You're not?
Computer handicapped at present. My computer work is back down to one finger.
If you need assistance, I'll be your computer hands, but you have to do that.
I got to do the thing.
You got to do the thinking. I'll just do the thing if you want to do that.
Hey, I hope to be back soon.
Okay. Community Fire Council, Chuck was the lead on that.
Okay, I've met with Earl a couple times. The state of Utah, because of fire severity, as part of their fire severity program, fire severity reduction program, has budgeted $1.2 million this year for fuel reduction in the urban interface area. Of that, Kane County, the specific area of Kane County will be eligible for up to $100,000. None of this money can be spent before July 1st. And it has to be 75% spent and 100% encumbered by November 1st. Well, the program that we are like to put forward for this area is a fuel reduction on the existing subdivision lots. As you're probably all aware, if not, the Forest Service has done a fuel reduction area outside the subdivisions on the south and west side of all of the subdivisions. Now, this fuel reduction that they have done is to cut out all the dead and dying, to clean up, and to reduce the canopy so that there's little chance. That's basically what saved the west side of Swains Creek, was the fact that when the fire got into that fuel reduction area, it managed to drop it back down to the surface where we could control it from getting into the subdivision. What we're proposing for within the urbanized area up here, the lot areas, is that if the people will clean up their lots and pull all of the material out to the roadway, that we can go by, we'll contract for a chipping crew to come by and chip it all. And at this point, we don't know if we'll put it back on the lots, the chips, or we'll haul them to some other location. We're still working on that. What we will do is with the existing homeowners association to get the information out, probably around the end of May. So that May 24th, 25th area, that we can probably put up a booth for that too. We'll have people sign up so we know. Part of it will be some before and after identification to know, so we'll be able to show that we did do fuel reduction and that we can then be eligible for next year's material or money. We'll set it up so that if they have the material pulled out to the roads by certain dates, probably middle of July would be the first one, and then every 2 weeks after that, another area. This will give people a month and a half to get their lots, the fuel reduction on the lots, get out to the streets, then we'll come by down those streets and just check them. Jay?
Is there any discussion about what will happen if we don't meet the November 1st 75% expenditure?
There is. That's the long range for the following year, is that working through the sheriff's department, we're working with the deputy chief or deputy sheriff Glover, that then the following year we can go into nuisance, the nuisance ordinance. We want to give them a chance to clean it up first, that we can then help them by basically getting rid of the material once they get it out. Then after that, then we can go through the nuisance ordinance that they've had the chance, and then that's a process through the courts. Commissioner?
May I just talk about that for a minute? What is driving this? There's two problems on the forest. One is if the fire starts on the forest, then that's much better for us, but the forest is doing a reasonably good job, at least on the southwest sides of our subdivisions, to try and reduce the fuel load. But if the fire starts on private property, then all of the economic dynamics switch so that we're responsible for the fire suppression costs on private, and as it moves on to the forest, we're also responsible for that. That creates a pretty significant liability for us, potentially far more than we could ever bear. And while I'm the kind of guy who really hates to put requirements on private property owners to do certain things on their private property, this liability is just given our general forest health, this liability is just more than I can bear. And so I'm actually in support of asking the homeowners to participate in the process of getting that, particularly from the little devastation we had on that winter storm that broke so many trees and got so much stuff on the ground. We need to get that stuff cleaned up. If a home fire started, spread to the forest, we'd have a big problem. Now, Carla had that conversation with your board up here about the insurance fund that we participate in, and the Cedar Mountain Fire Protection District dropped out of that participation in that a few years ago. We're probably going to expect you to get back engaged with that particular part of that story, because you're the primary danger zone, can I put it that way. Cedar Mountain has far more to lose than the rest of the county combined with regard to, the fuel loads and the hazards and the liability and all of that kind of stuff. So, does that make sense?
Commissioner, on that, on the insurance, as we've been discussing here, we do have budget problems this year.
I know.
And if you can give us a heads up as soon as possible on costs and such.
What I would like you to do is begin planning for that in your next budget year, so that, because I understand the problem you have. And I think Kane County paid that bill, that insurance premium bill for this year. So,
good. Yeah, and remember, we're going to start our budget early
I understand.
So if you can give us a heads up on, I agree with the commissioner that we've got to get a number of these lots cleaned up, that the people are basically non-resident owners. And if it spreads back out of our area back into the forest, we've got a lot of problems.
We've got a big problem. It could be economically annihilators.
Earl has been working very hard on this. I know he's the county fire warden, and he's talked with the deputy sheriff Glover, and they've identified some of the things. But again, we don't want to go in and where people have not had the chance. We want to make sure that they get the chance before we do that enforcement.
I think I didn't ask my question in the right way, because I didn't get the response I was expecting, so let me try it a different way. November 1st comes, because we haven't spent 75% of what the state has allocated to us. Is the board financially responsible for that amount, or what penalty is there to the board of the district if we don't meet that 75% expenditure?
The money doesn't come to us, but it's allocated for our area, and it will be through the Department of Natural Resources, and they handle the grant. So there is no liability to us. It's a benefit to our community, and definitely a benefit to the fire district to get this fuel reduced.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I just wanted to make sure that as a district, we wouldn't be on the hook for a large.
No, Earl will be administering it through the Department of Natural Resources.
Thank you, Chuck.
I would submit that there potentially is a significant liability, though, based on what Commissioner Heaton's been saying. So we need to get behind this and support this, 100%, and do everything we can to encourage the property owners to take advantage of this plan, but also to just do things regularly on their own to mitigate against, this possibility.
For the absent owners, can we get a list together of all of the people that do lot cleanup all the way around and make that available to them, so that
Yes. And we're going to try and work closely through the homeowners association, because they know their areas better than we do. And in the fire council, we've identified that we need to get 8 members that are from the different subdivisions that can help take the lead on this. There's also money available for the North Fork area that Earl is also working on. And while we've been concentrating on this to try and get it kicked off by the end of May, there will be some fuel reduction down in the North Fork area also.
Stated.
That's all.
Any other questions? Next item on the agenda is the second administrative position, which now, thanks to Betty, is the first administrative. And that actually, we started talking about that. Frank I want to give it over to Frank because you had looked into the money situation.
Yeah, I'll just give you the whole picture. We budgeted a total of $66,880 for payroll and payroll expenses for this calendar/fiscal year. If you subtract out what I anticipate the chief's portion of that, including salary, insurance, Medicare, FICA, the retirement, Utah State retirement, all those things, that's about $45,600. Leaves us about $21,280, give or take, for staff. So if we go with 1 staff or 2 staff, we've got about 21,000 to work with. If you pay a secretary $10 an hour for 20 hours part-time with no benefits for the next 9 months, that's $7,200 each. If you pay that staff member $12 an hour, that's $8,640 over the next 9 months till the end of this calendar year. So, with 21,000 available, you can see that we can support 2 staff positions, and we'll be right at our budget amount.
Under one of the policies that we're looking at this month, we will be paying $10 per hour to the firemen or possibly EMS response during the later part of the year after they get trained. Is that to come out of that same 66,000?
My plan is no.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, it obviously isn't there, depending on how much we actually pay. Okay. That would come out of reserves. We've got a substantial amount in reserves. The question is going to be, how do we decide that we're going to utilize that in the best interest of the community and the department?
I realize that, and I hope we get to that later.
When it's my turn to talk again,
Am I talking too much?
I would never say that, Chuck.
Okay. So I think we could cover 2 at 12 an hour.
2 at 12 would put us right at the budget for the year. Yeah. Suggestion is, as we get these applications in for Betty's position, that we take a look at those. If there are 2 qualified, that we use that to hire both from. If there's only 1 qualified, let's hire that one, and then either re-advertise or continue to look for the second one.
So everyone's aware there is an ad in the Southern Utah News this week, and it will run for another 3 weeks, assuming no one applies, because we can always cancel the ad. We've also got an ad in the Alton newsletter, I think is what it's called,
And the school district newsletter.
in the school district. So we've advertised already. This time is of the essence. Thanks for waiting.
Okay, that's an update.
She will be very hard to replace.
thank you.
So there are ads out, so we don't need a motion on this or anything, because we've already,
When, under the advertisement, when does the position open? Or when does it close?
Closes the 28th.
So that we can't do anything before the 28th?
We can accept applications.
We can accept that application, period. But as for interviews, we're gonna have to wait through that period, through that closing date.
I don't know that the law requires us to do that. I would think that as applications come in, if we see those that we want to interview, we can start that process. We just can't make a decision or close the process until after the 28th.
I don't know. Not sure I agree with you. I think that once we state a closing date, everyone that gets an application in up to that closing date has an equal opportunity.
Certainly. Yeah, I hope I didn't say something other than that. I thought your question was, can we do anything prior to that date? And I think we can interview prior to that date, we just can't make any decision, but anybody that gets an application in up until through the 28th has an equal chance, and we can continue to interview after that to make sure everybody's equally considered.
Okay, so we can't commit to anybody until after the 20th.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
You're just stating the processes could run concurrently.
I don't see why we couldn't. Yeah, as long as we don't make any judgments or decisions prior to making sure that, we're prior to the 28th.
You can always do a final interview.
Okay,
Will you clarify for the record, the 28th, the date, the 28th of what?
28th of March.
Thank you.
okay, next up is, it's actually the three policies that were on the agenda last month, and we gave a month for the board. Did everybody get a chance to look at them electronically? That's all? Yes. That's all. I'm gonna turn this over to Jay and Frank, who's ever doing this. And I've got DD 100 displayed right now. It's not red this time. It's a yellow and green, so you can read. Can you guys read it? Pretty much. What do you want to do?
Frank, do you want to talk when you talk, or?
Basically, no revisions other than minor administrative things since we talked about it last month. I would move to accept policy and procedure 5D 100.
You don't like your ED one?
I'm sorry,
You don't like VD one?
I don't think, no.
The one, oh, this isn't the one, never mind, never mind. Anybody feel-
The rest of my motion was to accept it as presented.
Anybody feel like you want to go through this? All the changes? Not that many.
I'll speak to the changes real quick, just so everybody knows. The policy originally stated, you'll see on the purpose, far right side says active firefighter, it's not highlighted. That's what this policy talked to. So there were other policies that talk to EMT and other policies that talk to volunteer, combine them all into this statement. So throughout the body of the policy, we just added firefighters, classification, EMT firefighter, and then volunteer is someone who just come into the process but hadn't obtained any of those certifications. So that's the basic change to this policy and procedure, is just adding that terminology in to clean up the language.
Did you second Frank's motion?
I will second it.
Okay, there's a motion on the table to accept DD 100, 5D 100, I'm sorry, seconded by Jay. And that's all that's going to be in those changes. Those two things are added. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So DD 100 passes.
Can we get fresh copies for our policy books?
You will once they're signed.
Okay, thank you.
I just don't want to make all the changes right now, because we have to leave while I do it.
Yeah, no problem, just to keep our book up to date.
Which one was the next, the 3D 100?
Sure.
This one has to do with Cmfpd compensation and timesheets.
So what we did here is we re-included that language we just previously talked about. King County Hospital, if we were an ambulance service, they have a policy where they reimburse up to or they pay up to 2 hours for that personnel in that ambulance service. their policy is still in effect. We don't have an annual basis, so we're not a recipient of that policy. Even though it's still in effect, it was an old policy. We hope to be there again one day. So we left it alone as is and continued to ride it as though we were participating in it in the hopes that we're going to come back into those graces. EMT volunteers, EMT, the lower left-hand corner there, EMT talks to the certification level of the volunteer. And the word volunteer is that entry level. So it was a redundancy based on terminology, so we got rid of the word volunteer, just called it EMT. Same thing here is, we cleaned it up a lot, getting rid of the word volunteer, unless it was as an addition to the categorical status of, as an example, firefighter, EMT. Next line down is volunteer. Again, somebody who's just entered the pipeline to begin training but hasn't reached any of the certification levels. Bottom part here, we made some changes to the hourly pay rate. We had it at $10 as a minimum. Chuck was throwing a surprise on you here, and we lowered it to $8. But in return for lowering it to $8, for every additional certification a volunteer might attain, we would add $1 per hour to their compensation. So if they had any 3 of those additional certifications from firefighter 1 all the way down to an EMT or EMR certification, we'd add $3 an hour to their base pay of 8, so they'd make 11. If they had all of those certifications, they would make 15, and that would be their cap out rate if they were certified in every, can you see there? Does everybody follow that? That change? So we changed the base pay from $10 to $8, but then based on what certification level they achieved, for every certification we added $1 per hour to what we would pay them.
If I may, these are incentive pays to incite people to continue education and to obtain certifications. And then we would do an audit annually to make sure that everybody maintained those certifications. And then annually, if a certification lapsed, they would lose their incentive pay for that.
There are additional certifications that aren't included